not your job. It's not your boss. It's the way it works. Let me give you an idea. And this needs, you need to be confident when you're talking about things, because I hear some people that come up and they'll say, hey, you just want to recruit me to make money off me. And a lot of you guys start backtracking like, whoa. I mean, no, it's not like, you know, it's 1 2 3 4 else, you know, you need to look right back and say, yeah, what do you think? What do you think I'd be doing it for? No, really, what do you think? Albertsons hired you just to pay you money? Do you think the CEO just woke up and was like, hey, you know what, let's get Jeff some money. Hey, you want a job? Here, take some money. No, they hired you for the purpose of growing their business so they can make more money. True or false? All right, but see, here's why it doesn't work. In the middle class, I grew up. I hope you guys get this. I grew up in the middle class, and I was always taught that a good business deal was where I won and you lost. I thought that was a good business deal, right? Either I'm going to take you or you're going to take me. Well, as I've read more and I've hung out with successful people, I've realized that there's really 4 ways a business deal can end. It can be win-lose, it can be lose-win. It can be lose-lose, or it can be win-win. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, the only one that will have longevity is win-win. No other way is going to last long. Meaning, if I ran a car dealership and I got Jeff to buy a lemon, a car that was really at best for $2,000, and I sold it to him for $7,000. I won, he lost, true or false? Right? So I'm happy for that day, but guess what? He eventually finds out. And then, will he ever buy another car from me again? No. Will he tell people about me? No. Yes, and just in a bad way, right? So none of his friends and family are ever going to buy a car from me. So, yeah, I might have won short term, but we're never going to do business again. Does that make sense? All right, so there's no long-term business. Well, here's the problem. That the only way it's going to have longevity is if it's win-win. So if I give him a good car at a good deal, I make a little bit of money, he's happy. Well, he's a young guy with money. He'll probably buy a whole bunch of more cars from me, right? And then he'll tell his friends and family, and then they'll end up maybe buying some cars, and we have a long-term successful relationship. The only way it works is when it's win-win. Same thing with just regular relationships. If you've got a relationship and one person's take, and one person's, you know, give, obviously at some point it's going to implode. You can't survive like that. Okay, so this is why you're seeing the trend. Because think about it. When Albertsons hires you, it's for the same reason. They want to make money. But if you understand the way they make money, like let's give a real simple example. My business is selling phones, right? Or pins. My business is selling pins. And I sell pins for $1. I hire Olivier, and I say, Olivier, every pin you sell, I'll give you 50 cents. That means I get to keep how much? Right, okay, so here's the deal. I'm hiring him to make money off him. All right, but in a corporate environment, here's how it works. If I convince him to take 40, I get how much? So if he takes 40, I win, he loses. Now, if he makes me give him 60, he wins and I lose. See, in a corporate relationship, employer-employee, it can never be win-win. It's either I'm going to make more money and he makes less, or he makes more and I make less. It can never be win-win. Because the salary is taking from the profit. Less salary, more profits. More salary, less profits. It can only be win-lose or lose-win. That's it. Think about relationships that will survive long-term. At McDonald's, if I'm a franchisee of McDonald's and I have a relationship. And they wanted me to be a McDonald's owner because they wanted to make money off me, true or false. But here's the difference. If I go and run a great McDonald's, I make a lot of money. But the more money I make, what happens to McDonald's? The more money they make. The less money I make, the less money. So now, because we're both owners, it's not win-lose or lose-win, it's win-win or lose-lose. That's a relationship that can last forever. See, so many times people think, oh, because they want, you know, look, does McDonald's, and Coca-Cola make money off each other? But they love that relationship. True or false? They make money off you, you make money off them. It's a win-win. The more Coke McDonald's sells, the more money Coke makes, the more money McDonald's makes. They love it. It's a win-win. Same thing with Sony and Best Buy. Right? The more Sony's Best Buy, the more they make, the more they make. Does that make sense? Right. So remember this. In Primerica, I recruit a lead game. The more money he makes, the more money what? I make. The less money he makes, the less money I make. So it's win-win or lose-lose. If I run a corporate and I recruit him to be an employee, it's win-lose or lose-win. That's why one's going to last long-term and why one's not. That's why you're seeing a steady decline in the average employee, because a win-lose will never last long-term. You've got to know that there is a no hope long-term. I read an article that said that, I forgot what it was, like by 2030, there will only be 1099s in America. Okay, profits are high, but workers don't see the gains. Again, corporate profits have never been higher. Here we go. Let's talk about wealth. You can see home ownership rates. The cost of housing is in the green. It peaked in 06, 07, went down, and now it's starting to go back up. But what you see is, since the decline, less and less people have owned homes. So even though the cost of houses have gone back up, less and less Americans have owned homes. So again, you've got middle-class America not taking advantage of that ownership, not taking advantage of that bump up. Same thing happens with stock ownership. You can see, obviously, there was a height of ownership right there in about 06, and ever since then it's gone down dramatically. The average, about half of Americans are not in equities, even though, the stock market, as we know, are hitting highs regularly, right? More and more people are, the stock market continues to go up, but the average person is not taking advantage of that wealth. Because why? Most people that don't have advice, that don't have help, what do? They tend to get scared and sell low, and they end up buying high. Where do we come in? When we sit down with somebody and we're helping an individual, what do? We make sure we educate them to, don't sell when it's down. If anything, buy more. So again, when you see this go down, this is where Warren Buffett's buying. This is where John and Jane Doe is selling. That's why you saw that big increase. We have to help our aunts and uncles keep in the market. If anything, buy more. So again, in two ways we're helping people. We're helping them financially by taking care of them, by teaching them and educating them that what goes up comes down, but what goes down will come back up as well. So even though we've got increase in the market, right? The increase in market, we've got decrease in stock ownership. We've got to fix that. We've got to get more and more people invested in equities through mutual funds. Look at this. The real inflation-adjusted household income. It's funny because when I went to college and I was learning finance, they would say, hey, this is the rate of return. And then they would ask, what's the real rate of return? And I used to get so pissed. I'm thinking, what do you mean? What was the other thing? The fake rate of return? What are you talking about? So obviously the real is, minus inflation, right? Minus inflation, what your rate of return is, or in this case, what your household income is. You can see the bottom fifth is basically a straight line. So since 1965, they haven't had any increase. Neither has the fourth fifth. Same thing with the third fifth. And even the second fifth has only kind of ticked up a little. Now the top fifth, the top 20% has gone up pretty nice. But look at that top 5% has gone up substantially. What does that mean? You can look at it in chart form. And you know, Brandon Neal hit on this a little bit. Income declines are getting worse, but not in America. You see the peak year, the bottom 20%. They made the most money in 1999. So it's been down 16% from the peak. Think about that for a second. That means for the last 15 years, they're making less money than they were 15 years ago. I remember in 1999, I was first kind of getting a car. And if I went to the gas station, you know the first digit on that gas was a decimal point. I remember filling up for 0.98. I remember taking a date to the nice movie theater, and it was $4.25. Stamps were like 19 cents. Today, gas is what, it's gotten to $4, right? A stamp's 49, 47 cents, and a movie theater ticket's 12. So just in about 15, 16 years, it's tripled. Even though the income is down for a lot of Americans. Even the second 20 percentile, peak was in 07 at 87, now it's 82. And that's 2012. Look at this. Job prices by age group. If you see 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds are about 15 to 30% less likely to get work. Everybody's less likely to get work until you get to 65, 70, and 75 years old, and particularly women. All right, but look at this. 20 to 24, that's when you graduate college, you're about, what, 10%, you're between 7 to 11% less likely to get work than before. Since, that's 2007. So you're 7 to 11% less likely to get work than you were in 2007. Who's getting work? Grandma. 70-year-old women are 17% more likely to get work. And what? Is that supposed to be a good thing? Hey, we got grandma working. She's not supposed to be working. How old are you when you graduate college? 20 to 24. How you got that? All right, watch this. Watch this. College lending. In 2010, the federal government expanded its role to student loan marketing, making only direct loans instead of guarantees. So in the year 2011-2012, it issued 93% of all student loans. You can see how many of the loans were federal versus non-federal. Look at the debt outstanding. If you see credit card debt has kind of spiked up and then went back down, and now it's kind of gone back up a little bit. If you see the equity line, the home equity lines are also down from their highs. Auto loans have kind of gone up and then down and back up. But what's the point of the slide? Look at that student loan. From $200 billion all the way up to almost $1 trillion. Now think about that for a second. If you were going to get into the loan business or the debt business, based on that graph, what debt would you want to get into? I want to look at that growth. That's a growth industry. It's a demand industry. And now the government runs a business. They run a student loan business. Now, let me ask you guys a question. If you owned a student loan business, what would you do to market your product? What would you do to market your product? What would you tell people to do? You would tell them to go to school. And what do you get? What do they get? What do they get when they go to school? Hey, you should go to school. What do you get? You get an 11% less likely chance of getting a job than before.